Welcome to Shooting Straight, A1F.com. I'm Frank Miniter, the editor-in-chief of the NRA's America's First Freedom. Today, we have the incredible pleasure of speaking with Bert Brantley, Deputy Chief of Staff for Georgia's Governor, Kemp. Now, Bert, I wanted to start this conversation with what Georgia's doing for business, for gun companies in particular. I had the great pleasure of meeting Governor Kemp when he cut a ribbon at Taurus's new factory in Bainbridge, Georgia, maybe 2 years ago, right? And we got a chance to talk a little hunting and things, and he's certainly a pro-gun, pretty cool guy. What are you guys doing now to invite manufacturers to Georgia?
Yeah, that Taurus project is a really perfect example of what we're seeing over and over and over in Georgia. Taurus was down in Miami, Florida, and which is certainly a great freedom-loving state, but the location they were in Miami was really difficult. They needed a bigger facility, something they had a little bit more control over, and they came to Georgia and just absolutely fell in love with Southwest Georgia. The culture that's down there, very welcoming. Georgians are very proud to make really great products. It says "Made in Bainbridge" right on the gun, which is really terrific. We're really proud of that. And so that story is one that's being repeated. We have got a workforce, we've got the land, we've got a growing population that's ready to go to work, and we've got a population that's very proud of the Second Amendment and proud to be in the industry, proud to make a really good product. And so whether it's Standard Defense down on the coast, or Taurus down in Bainbridge, Glock has been in Smyrna, just outside of Atlanta for decades. We got a lot of really great products that are being made in Georgia by great skilled workforce. And so when we're here at the SHOT Show, we just repeat that story over and over and say we're welcoming to companies that want to make a legal product that's protected in the Constitution, and we're glad to have them there. We've got companies all over the state. It's really a statewide story for us. There's not one area of the state. We've got rifles, we've got pistols, we've got ammo, we've got chokes and braces for sights and all kind of different products and suppliers that are located in Georgia. Really proud of it. About 5,000 employees in that industry in Georgia, and that means families that are being fed and being provided for and contributing to our communities.
People talk about Florida, but they tend to forget about Georgia. But you were ahead of them with constitutional carry.
Yeah, and we love our friends in Florida. Governor Kemp, Governor DeSantis have a great relationship. We certainly rip each other back and forth about football and other things as we can. We're very respectful of the job that certainly the Governor DeSantis has done down there, and glad to partner with them on a number of things. But we were really proud to get constitutional carry past the finish line this year. That was a campaign promise that the governor made in 2018 when he originally ran. We got the heartbeat bill done in that first session, which was a 6-week abortion ban, and he was really pleased to get that through. And then COVID hit, and so a couple of our priorities got delayed by addressing the pandemic. But we were able to come out of it strong, and in 2022 come back. And what we saw was we had probate offices in the state, mostly in our metro areas, that were either not open, or if they were open, they were focusing on other processes, marriages and birth certificates and those kind of things. And we just saw a huge delay in people who wanted to protect themselves from getting their permits to be able to carry. And so that would really helped us make the argument that we needed to still allow permits. If you want to get one, you want to go across state lines and have that reciprocal deal that we have with other states. But at least to carry in Georgia, you do not have to have a piece of paper from the government to be able to do that. And so I think governor was very proud of that. The legislature really came together and got that done, and good to get it across the finish line there as we head into a re-election season as well. Given that he had made that campaign promise, he wanted to go back out to Georgians and say, "I made promises last time, we delivered, and then here's what I'm going to do in the second term."
How long had the waiting period gotten for some people in your state before
months.
Carry?
Yeah, months. We had a story out of one of our northern suburbs where an elderly female wanted to protect herself. She had gotten concerned about her neighborhood and put it in her permit, and it had been 9 months, and she had not gotten her permit back yet. And it's just too long. It's too long to wait, particularly. And look, ultimately, she was carrying, right? I mean, she was protecting herself. She wasn't going to wait on the permit to be able to do that. And so, theoretically, she could have turned into a criminal. because she was carrying, and all she was doing was trying to protect herself. And so those are the kind of stories that we were hearing, and it was just untenable. The pandemic highlighted so many things, I think in our society and our culture, and this was one that thankfully we were able to use that terrible example to get really good policy done.
Well, it is a civil rights fight, so that's important.
Well, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So as you move into constitutional carry, some states look at it. Gun control groups start to say there's going to be shootings in the streets. It's going to be Wild West shootouts and all this. How the mainstream media parrots those talking points.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in Georgia?
Well, we have seen an increase in crime, but that was due to the pandemic. I mean, that was happening way before we passed constitutional carry. And as the governor has said repeatedly, that laws like constitutional carry, criminals don't pay attention to those. They're already criminals to begin with, and so they're not following the law already. And so the concept that they're going to break the law more because this law is out there is just a false concept to begin with. And so no, I think quite the opposite. That I think allowing our people to be able to protect themselves and defend themselves is a positive step forward for public safety. And I'll say this too. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that can question, at least in Georgia, the governor's commitment to public safety. We're going after gangs and their recruitment efforts. We're going after human traffickers and the way that manifests itself, and a lot of times with gangs and other crimes. And we're going to go even further on some public safety issues this session. That has been something that the governor recognized very early on that people were concerned about. And ultimately, the job of a politician should be to address the concerns that their citizens are bringing up. And they continually brought up public safety and crime, and so we've addressed those. We have a Georgia State Patrol crime suppression unit that is now partnering with local law enforcement and helping them to go after street racers and some of this criminal activity that's out there. And that's not their normal job. We actually brought in extra funds to help them fund those activities. But it's that important that the state's stepping in to help partner with our local law enforcement. And it's not our officers. Our officers out there trying to do the best they can. It's the prosecutors who aren't prosecuting these cases. They just turn them right back out. Or even when they do prosecute them, as we've seen in Georgia in a couple of cases, they don't know what they're doing and they don't get guilty verdicts. That people get let out because of mistake in prosecution. And so those are the issues that we're fighting, and we're going to continue fighting that. This is one that the governor in particular has heard from people over and over and over, and we're just not going to let up on them.
Well, it's sad to hear that that's happening in Georgia as well. It's a nationwide issue, of course.
It is.
Think of states like New York, and they think of woke prosecutors not prosecuting, but you have a place like Atlanta, which might elect a certain type of politician who then puts in place right.
Yeah, and I'll tell you a quick story too. I mean, the mayor of Savannah, who is certainly a Democrat, was a former police officer. I was at an event where he was speaking, and he's frustrated by it because it's his officers. As a mayor, it's his police force that's out risking their lives every day. And when the local prosecutor, refuses to bring charges or reduces the charges or whatever the case might be, that's frustrating to him as well. And so this really shouldn't be a partisan issue at all. I mean, keeping our streets and our people safe. I'm not sure how that became a political talking point of one side, but that should be something that everybody can agree on. And when people do a crime, there should be consequences. There should be an effort to prove it that it was done, and then a punishment behind that. And so we've really lost. Not again, to your point, not everywhere certainly, but in some places we're starting to lose that. And at the state level, we just can't stand by and let that happen. We've got to do everything that we can do to help keep our people as safe as possible.
Well, how novel of you! You're actually going after the bad guys, criminal element, who can't legally carry on guns, regardless.
That's right. Yeah, and I've yet to hear a cogent argument from the other side about why. That when somebody commits a crime, they shouldn't be punished. It just doesn't make any sense. And so we'll continue on that. We've got a few proposals to present to the legislature this year to increase penalties for gang recruitment and those kind of things. But again, we need a prosecutor that when they get those arrests to then go through with the prosecution. And so we'll be working on that this year for sure.
Well, let me shift gears on you here for a second, because another attack that's going on our right to bear arms, is financial. Mm-hmm. The financial industries are being used by some as weapons, whether it's ESG, or environmental social governance, or in other ways. Obama, former President Obama, did with Operation Choke Point, and current President Biden has actually put the same person in charge of the TIC that ran Operation Choke Point, which was designed at the time to constrict or even stop the financial relationships between gun makers, for example, as one industry, and big financial companies. So is Georgia doing anything to push back?
We are, yeah. We actually passed a bill a couple of years ago that we thought addressed the issue well. We're coming back with another bill this year with our friends from the NSSF. And matter of fact, we have legislators out here at the SHOT Show from Georgia who are out talking about this and making sure that our folks know that it's coming. But I mean, given the number of manufacturers that we have in Georgia, that is a big issue for us, not just from a right and wrong perspective, but from a business perspective, from an economic perspective. I mean, we got thousands of people working in this industry, and some of the most well-known names in the industry are making their products right there in Georgia. And so yeah, look, I think again, I mean, discrimination, in all forms is something I think we should move away from, not towards. And so when you get this kind of financial discrimination happening, now we got to look at the details, and we got to make sure, because ultimately we're free market folks as well, and we believe really strongly in allowing the market to work. But at the same time, when legal industries are being targeted for no good reason, and those industries are important to us, we need to stand up for them. And so we'll continue to do that. Again, I don't think there's anyone that would question governor's commitment to both our companies and their employees and their financial contribution to our state, but then also, frankly, just what's right and wrong, and making sure that we're allowing our companies to be successful and we're not putting barriers in the way.
Now, from a freedom perspective, unfortunately, from my point of view, a freedom point of view, you have two U.S. senators who don't like our right to bear arms very much, or part of our U.S. Bill of Rights. Are they in step with the majority of voters in Georgia?
I think we trust the ballot box, right? And then these our senators went to the people and got elected, and so I certainly don't want to question their wisdom, given that they just reelected the governor and all Republican statewide offices as well. But I think they're going to have to answer those questions. Both of them are from Atlanta, live in Atlanta. One grew up down in Savannah, but they both live in Atlanta. And while you got a lot of our statewide Republican constitutional officers are from outside the state, from the rest of the state, and so I doubt they believe that they're out of touch, out of step, with most of the state. But we certainly disagree with them on a number of issues. We agree with them on a lot too. I mean, there's certainly common areas that we can work together, particularly on economic, programs and helping our folks have good jobs and bringing good jobs to the state. But I think they will have to explain their positions to the people when they go out and go back out for reelection. And I think you just get this federal state difference, right? I mean, at the state level, we have to balance our budget every year. We pass legislation. We do it in a very short window of time. You don't get this year over year discussion about different things. You don't get continuation budgets and debt ceiling, limits and all these kind of things. And so the conversations get, at least in our view, so out of whack in DC when in Georgia, everything's very compact. Our session is very short. Our budget, we have to balance it every year. We don't have a choice. And so we think DC can learn a lot from Georgia and how and really, frankly, a lot of states are in the same position, and not a lot seems to get done up there. But I think we would encourage them to really understand the economic impact that this industry has on our state, and then back to the public safety piece of this, that our people want to feel safe and they want to be able to defend themselves and protect themselves.
It didn't feel like the Second Amendment in the last couple of election cycles was one of the top issues for Georgia voters that wasn't being talked about enough.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, in 2018, we certainly talked about constitutional carry a good bit. And then in the 2022 primary, of course, on the Republican side, we talked about that, a good bit. And then when you get into, look, we have 40 high year inflation. We had gas prices that were out of control. You got a border that the federal government refuses to close and contain. All these other issues that really came to the forefront And I think you're right. I mean, I think it wasn't as big of a topic this year as it normally. Economic issues, I think, really dominated the discussion in 2022. And that's not to say we won't see those come back. Certainly, I think with a couple of bills that are in front of our legislature this year, you'll start to see some of those issues come back to the forefront.
Well, I was just down at your booth, the Georgia booth, on the floor of the SHOT Show,
Yeah.
and it looked busy. Looked like a lot of people were coming in to see what's going on with Georgia.
Yeah, no, I think given our constitutional carry success last year, and just the other states that we're seeing that are passing unfriendly legislation to the industry, we got a lot of people who they're coming by. We've got a big map that shows all of our Georgia businesses that are in the industry and our manufacturers, which we're really proud of. A lot of dots on the map up there, so we get a lot of people coming by, and then we're going and visiting a lot of folks. Not only our Georgia companies, who are of course all over the show, but then also companies that may be interested in moving to Georgia. And maybe it won't be today, maybe it won't be tomorrow, but somewhere down the line, as they continue to get this kind of unfriendly legislation put on them, they're going to decide at some point they need to find greener pastures. And so we just want them to make sure that, not to use an overused line, we want to make sure Georgia's on their mind, like the famous Ray Charles song. And so we want to go visit, make sure that they know we'll answer whatever questions they have. And there are a number of states that are here, and we're friendly with a lot of them, and they're doing the same thing. And I think really starting to see a divide in terms of what states are welcoming investment, and then which ones are really turning their nose up at it.
Where can you point to them that they might call the governor's office, or where should they go?
Yeah, we got our Department of Economic Development is our business recruitment arm, and we've been coming out here for really almost a decade now to the SHOT Show. We saw this as an industry that we thought we could really make a difference in and make an impact. And so yeah, Georgia.org is that website of our state economic development team. We'll bring in our local partners as well, those local communities that'll welcome this kind of investment into their state. And we got the process down, pretty well. On the booth, you see we've been named the #1 state for business for 9 years in a row now, and that's by the site selection consultants that do that work. They look at and analyze different states and how they do business, and so we're really proud of that. And we can help any company that wants to consider Georgia, and we're also dedicated to helping our existing companies grow and be successful as well. And so it's a big job, but we're up for it.
Thank you, Bert. Thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you for the invitation.